all about kind of myths, and it's kind of fun because I'm sure all you guys have family members, friends, and you hear myths all the time, right? The first big myth, and I'm going to tell you something, I have been on Muscle PhD Academy and posted up stuff about, gaining muscle or losing fat, and people have come out and gone, you can't gain muscle and lose fat at the same time. That's impossible. There's no way. Well, we posted up a study this week that showed that you actually could gain muscle and lose fat at the same time. It got a huge kind of, a lot of feedback from you guys on it. You were excited about it. You shared it with your friends. And so the fact of the matter is you absolutely can do both. The thing to understand is how do you do both at the same time? You got to realize that unless you have a stimulus to gain muscle, when you're dieting, you will likely lose muscle. So in this study, they were training like 6 times a week. So what I would recommend if you're dieting is, it's hard to have as long of training sessions and maintain your intensity. Split your training volume up into smaller, more manageable sessions, because you will be a little bit more fatigued. And that more frequent stimulus, like in this study, along with a diet and higher protein intake, because in this study, they had at least 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. They actually found that with that high protein intake, with the high training frequency, they were able to lose fat and gain muscle at the same time. So the next sort of myth that we talked about was, doesn't creatine just like bloat you? Isn't it not good to take? Well, the study we pointed out is that up to 5 grams, creatine did not cause any bloating, right? There's no bloating. If you did have greater than 5 grams, people had some gastric distress. So the main take-home message is, like, you don't want a serving to exceed 5 grams. And I think that's really, really important to understand. So going on to the next thing, I guess kind of myth was what today is, can you spot reduce, right? Well, here's the thing. The study we showed, they had them do crunches like every day or several times a week. And even though their abs got stronger, they got more endurance and things of that nature. They could do, a lot more crunches and sit-ups and stuff like that. Basically, what they found is that didn't have any impact on abdominal fat. So, intriguingly enough, that doesn't seem to work, spot reduction. So, Chris is right here. I know he's tried to spot reduce a lot. He does abs and arms every day.
Yes, sir.
But anyway, so yeah, can't really spot reduce. Intriguingly enough, though, when you do cardio, it does seem to specifically decrease fat from the abdominal region. That's not spot reduction. That's just your body selectively seems to do that, which is intriguing to us. And then finally, tomorrow's, I'll be in Vegas, so that's why I'm doing this live today, but tomorrow's antioxidants. Should you take antioxidants around your training? I mean, I'll tell you what, like when I first started like lifting and stuff like that, it was like, oh yeah, you're going to lift weights. When you train, that causes like oxidative stress, and if you could just suppress that, you'll grow a lot more. So I take vitamin C and like vitamin E and a whole cocktail around my workout. Turns out that a study that was done by Juha Holmi. Juha Holmi is a really cool guy in Finland, Jyväskylä, Finland, good friend of mine. Juha is kind of like the me of Finland. He does a lot of stuff with myostatin. But anyway, they found that when you gave antioxidants around the workout, it blunted strength gains and had a tendency to actually blunt muscle gains. On top of that, Scotty Powers from University of Florida has looked at antioxidants when you're doing things like cardio. And one of the reasons why you do cardio is increase mitochondria, right? You increase mitochondria, increase your long-term fat metabolism capacity. Scotty Powers' lab has found that you impair your ability to increase mitochondria when you actually take antioxidants. So it kind of defeats a lot of the point of cardio on long-term insulin sensitizing, endurance adaptations, fat metabolism. So take-home messages, it's not that antioxidants are bad, but don't blast a bunch of antioxidants around the workout. It's no bueno, not a good idea. So that's kind of the Muscle PhD lesson. for this week. I'm going to now answer your questions. Real quick again, though, if you're watching this, share the love. We love you guys, so just go ahead and hit share with your friends, whether you're on Periscope or Facebook. Give us a shout out because we're getting ready to go into this Q&A. So, all right, what are the questions that we have?
So, the big question, is there an anabolic window in regards to, carbohydrates, protein, low GI, high GI, optimal amount of protein,
So an anabolic window, when I say, I'm guessing that we mean like relative to training?
Relative to training, yes.
Relative to training, sir. And who has to do it? Okay, so let's think about this for a second. Is there an anabolic window? This is a very controversial question. When I was going through grad school, it was a fact that if you stopped training, if you didn't have amino acids in like 15 to 30 minutes, your workout, well, there's no point. You might as well not train at all, right? And so, right? I mean, I don't know. You guys probably even like experience stuff like that, right?
2 hours or else it's a waste, right?
Yeah. If you don't eat in like, if you didn't eat in like 30 minutes, I mean, you could have trained for 2 hours. You might as well just taken that workout and just chucked it, right? Gone. So now, all of a sudden, then we swing from this end of the pendulum to another end. It's like, you know what? Timing doesn't mean anything. There's no point at all to timing. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter. Heck, you could eat 6 hours later. What I'm going to tell you is this. There's only been one really good study on timing. I'm going to be quite honest with you. And that study was by Paul Cribb. And Paul Cribb basically took whey protein and creatine, and he gave it to individuals. These were bodybuilders, trained bodybuilders. He gave it to them before exercise or after exercise, or in the morning or in the evening. And he found that there was greater muscle growth, greater strength gains, and I think more fat loss. Since that time, there's been one other study that was okay, but didn't look at biopsies or anything like that. Granted, there's been like meta-analyses, but most of those were just protein versus carbohydrate. So there's only been really like 2 real like timing studies that were long-term, and to be honest, they show favorable effects. So my thought is you do want some amino acids in you around that workout. Whether you now, if you had a big meal before you train, those amino acids are still be readily available, right? But if you wake up fasted or you train, there might be a timing effect, and so that I would lean more toward the conservative side. I'm not going to say the clock's ticking and 30 minutes is gone. Your workout's chuck it. The other thing to point out is there was a nitrogen balance study that was done where basically they look it's like an overall protein balance study. They look basically at protein balance in untrained people and then trained people, and they looked at timing differences. They showed that timing mattered when you were trained, and timing didn't matter when you were untrained. It's because when you're untrained, protein synthesis lasts such a longer time. But as you adapt, protein synthesis might be done in like 4 to 6 hours. But if you're untrained, it might last like 72 hours, so the window might not mean as much. Is that how good answer there, guys?
Elaborate on what protein turnover or nitrogen balance is.
Protein turnover, basically we're talking about like protein synthesis and breakdown is sort of protein turnover. And nitrogen balance means like, it's kind of like protein, total body protein balance in a sense. How much protein you're taking in versus how much protein that you excrete from your body. If you're in nitrogen balance, it means that what's coming into your body equals what's going out of your body. So you're really not gaining or losing in that point. And that's how people really determine like, oh, you need like 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram body weight if you're lifting weights, right? So, next question.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on why antioxidants may blunt adaptations?
Absolutely. So, antioxidants are basically what happens is this: when we train, or you're always producing something called free radicals. Okay. And basically, you have like an atom or a molecule that has an unpaired electron. And when you have that, say you have an atom that has an unpaired electron, it's unstable. And so that will disrupt other molecules. Okay? So that's what free radicals, this thing of free radicals is basically like sort of unstable atoms or molecules missing an electron, and they will cause damage to other structures or molecules. When I train, I increase a lot of free radical production. So we think, oh my God, that's bad, that's bad. Turns out that Scott Powers found, and Yuha Homi also has found this, that free radical, that acute burst of free radicals, triggers some of the adaptations that we have. Almost think about it like if the first time doctors looked at what happened when you lifted weights, they saw a muscle damaged beyond belief. It looked horrible under a microscope. And so doctors basically were going like, oh my God, this is terrible for you. Look at what happens to the muscle. Similar with free radicals. They're triggering adaptations. It's a stressor, so your body adapts. Also realize that with increased oxidative stress, that your endogenous or internal antioxidant mechanisms will also improve. What kills us on oxidative stress is long-term low-grade oxidative stress. And that's what happens, for example, with aging. So like if you're elderly or older, taking antioxidant supplement throughout the day could be beneficial. It's just around that workout, probably not ideal because those free radicals are triggering those responses. So
assuming, unless you have one on there you want to answer.
Yeah, someone goes, Frida Harris goes, do you incorporate like yoga into your workouts? I'll be honest with you, Frida, like I can barely touch my toes. But I should. We have someone on staff, Christy Robinson, who does yoga here at ASPI, and she's awesome. There are studies that show, we actually found in our lab that like stretching, chronic stretching in between sets stimulated muscle growth, right? And obviously having greater range of motion is going to allow you to do things in the weight room that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do. And so I think that it's absolutely beneficial to have a stretching regimen, and I should be taking my own advice on this. So good question. What do you think about intermittent fasting in bodybuilding? This is Michaela. Okay, so good question, Michaela. What do I think about intermittent fasting? Intermittent fasting is freaking awesome. But anyway, let me just if I were to sum this up really quick, it seems that, and what I'm basically doing is this: I'm patching together the literature, but it seems that like that 8-hour fast is probably you can gain muscle on that. The 4-hour fast is going to be, and you're going to lose a lot of fat with the 8-hour fast. The 4-hour window, you might lose a robust amount of fat, but it's probably not going to be one of those zones where you're going to optimize muscle size. Just based on a recent study that came out. So I'd say for fat loss, the 4-hour window could be really great. 8-hour window also really great, but you might be able to gain muscle in that window, which is, I don't know if you're going to be able, unless you're a beginner, if you're going to optimize muscle gains on the 4-hour window. The other thing, and actually Matt Stefan pointed this out to me the other day, because a lot of people go, well, don't you need to eat like every 2 to 3 hours or stuff like that, you know? And I think all of us at some point have eaten like on the clock every 60 minutes, right? I don't know, like people have eaten up to like what, 10 times a day, 12 times. Have you guys ever done that?
Yep.
Yeah, I've eaten like 10, 12 times a day before. But anyway, but here's the thing. The thing to understand is this: that actually might work acutely. But the thing to understand is that like your cells kind of need to clean themselves up. There's damaged proteins, there's damaged mitochondria, and one thing Matt Stefan pointed out to me is that you have to clean that out. And that gets cleaned out during a fasting period. Now, we think of protein synthesis as anabolic. Now, during that fasting period, protein synthesis will actually lower, and you're like, oh my God, I can't grow because I'm fasting, protein synthesis is down, what's going to happen, the world's going to end. But here's the thing to understand, you got to understand this for a second, right? Anytime you provide a stimulus that is a stressor, you will adapt. So what studies show is like after you've done that fasting period, when you refeed, you'll turn on protein synthesis mTOR to a much higher level. And so you respond with a rebound, and I think that's kind of the key to sort of understand. So the point is that you clean the machinery out, you make sure you have all functional mitochondrial, functional proteins, and plus you get all those results. So I hope that answers your question. Okay. Regina Bingham goes, "You totally rock." Thanks, Regina. I really appreciate that. All right, what are the questions you guys got? I like Regina's question.
So,
You got a question?
Yeah.
so kind of BCAAs all day long, but you kind of touched on that in your previous explanation.
BCAAs all day
Yeah.
long. Sam Bezic actually just goes, really good point. If you guys are watching Sam, Sam Bezic actually used to work in our lab. He's actually got a really good podcast that came out. He talks a lot about intermittent fasting. If you see Sam, follow him, check out his podcast. He's awesome. Especially if you want to know more about intermittent fasting, I'd recommend him. And then the question was having BCAAs all day long. It's interesting because they've done studies where they've taken rats and put BCAAs in their drinking water and kind of had them just drink it all day. And I'll be honest, we've all done that too, right? Where you have the big jug and BCAAs in it, you're kind of sipping on it all day. That way you remain anabolic. So, but here's the thing to understand. I think I'm predicting this. Now we have to test this out. But I'm going out and making a prediction, and with my background in science, and be quite honest with you, I think I'm right. But anyway, I think cycling meal frequency is really the wave of the future. I think that if I were to, I don't eat at high meal frequency, the guys in the lab don't eat at high meal frequency, but if all of a sudden we started eating more frequently, I bet you we would put on a lot of size and stuff like that. But you would adapt to that. And part of that might be what Matt Stefan, Country in our lab, suggests is, the cell needs time to clean itself out, right? And that process is called autophagy. It needs to basically clean itself out and restructure itself. So I think maybe a month of high meal frequency and then going back to intermittent fasting for another month or 2 months, and then high meal frequency for a month could be beneficial. Now, BCAAs going into that, my brother, Dr. Gabriel Wilson, Douglas Patton-Jones, they've done research where they found that in between meals, BCAAs can spike and sustain protein synthesis. So the thought is, my brother's dissertation is meal, BCAAs, meal, BCAAs, meal, BCAAs, and then protein balance is much higher. But again, you will adapt to that. So I'm going out on a limb here and saying cycling meal frequency, I think, is a wave of the future. Periodizing meal frequency is the wave of the future to adding huge amounts of lean mass and staying lean at the same time. So maybe 2 or 3 more questions?
Big question here. This is my favorite. I love this question. VFR while doing cardio.
VFR while doing cardio.
VFR wing gates.
VFR. Oh, you know what? This is really cool. One of my friends did a study, and he presented at NSCA, and he did BFR wing gates. And basically, think about wing gates as if you have an arm machine, you go all the way out. Or, who's seen Generation Iron? Raise your hand. All right. So I see you guys raising your hands. So basically, if you look at Ben when he was doing that cardio in our lab. By the way, go Ben. He's competing. Basically, you go all out with no weight, and then you drop the weight really rapidly. Very brutal. A lot of weight. In fact, tomorrow we're testing the Tampa Lightning out with these wing gates. Now, here's the thing to understand is that with blood flow restriction, you do that with 1/3 of the normal weight. So you're not going as heavy. And basically what this guy found is that you actually got really high adaptations. So it is possible, consult your doctor, but it is possible that doing BFR sprints could really enhance adaptations. So go ahead and take me 1 or 2 more questions here. Joshua goes, I feel so bad for those Wingate subjects. Yeah, me too. All right. So you got. I know you are a keto advocate, but what is the science regarding high carb / no protein, i.e. rice diet? What's the science behind that? I mean, the science is that's a really good diet to lose a lot of muscle, I'd say. I mean, if you're eating like a lot of rice and no protein.
Let's be completely anecdotal, but look at any of the Western cultures, not Eastern cultures, that consume very high carbohydrates. Most of them are very small.
Yeah.
Small as in very little lean bodies.
Yeah.
So that's being completely anecdotal.
Yeah. So I think bottom line, if you if you look at like the overall research and like even I'm sure if you know friends that pretty much just eat very, very high carb and almost no protein, like Andy's talking about, not a lot of size, not a lot of muscle mass. And so you'll be a negative protein balance. I think that's the answer. I'm not quite sure why you would do something like that, but certainly wouldn't do it probably to gain muscle. And I would imagine, and actually like Gabriel Wilson, my brother, did a study with more like wheat type diets and found that you gained a lot of fat. So, okay, so good. I'll say last question. Sam Bezic, follow him, guys. What do you think of using glucose polymers one on keto for pre-workout only, avoiding refilling liver glycogen stores? Okay, I think that having a little bit of carbs, like targeted before you go in, and what Sam's talking about is like very complex, very slow burning, slow metabolizing carbohydrates before you train. We know it's just eating a carb, just that mouthfeel of a carbohydrate, triggers reward centers that make you essentially want to train harder. And so I think even a little bit of carbs, if you're keto before your workout, you're going to have a huge adrenaline spike anyway. You're going to suppress insulin. I don't think you're going to suppress a lot of like ketogenesis with that. Could be beneficial.